looking at a company that's totally rewriting the rules for outsourcing. It's a fascinating story about trust, about technology, and about a really, really clever playbook. So let's just dive right in.
You know, it's maybe the biggest dilemma in business, right? You absolutely need to bring in help if you're going to grow. But letting go of control, especially over your most important operations, that feels like a huge, huge leap of faith. And that's the core problem we're going to unpack today.
And this whole practice, it actually has a name: Business Process Outsourcing, or BPO for short. It's a massive industry, but it's one that's built on a foundation that, let's be honest, can feel kind of shaky at times. Which brings us right to the main event. Before you can even start talking about things like efficiency or saving money, you've got to talk about trust.
I mean, really think about it. If you're a bank, how in the world do you hand over something like collections or managing loans to an outside company? The risk is massive. You're not just outsourcing a task, you're handing over your reputation, your relationship with your customers. It all comes down to this. In these high-stakes games, trust is the only currency that truly matters.
So how does a company like 1010 even begin to solve this? Well, they start with a rock-solid foundation. This number, 60 plus, that represents over 60 years of combined industry experience. They've built this incredible reputation across 12 different countries. So they don't just show up and ask you to trust them, they walk in with a history that proves they've already earned it.
And all that experience, it led them to a strategy that completely flips the old outsourcing model right on its head. See, they're not just playing the game better, they've written a whole new playbook.
And here is where you can really see the difference. Most BPOs, they're like a Swiss Army knife. They try to do a little bit of everything for everybody. 1010, they take the scalpel approach. They're not trying to get every single client. Nope. They target large partners and focus on proving they can solve one specific, super important problem with absolute precision.
Their method for earning that trust is so simple, it's brilliant. It's just 3 steps. First, the pilot. They go in and offer a free proof of concept, 0 risk to the client. Then, step 2, prove. They deliver real, tangible results in a live environment. And only then, after they've proven their value beyond a shadow of a doubt, do they move to step 3, scale. They take that success and replicate it for massive impact.
So how well does this prove-it-first strategy actually work? Well, this number says it all. A jaw-dropping 98% of their pilot tests are successful. Think about that. They're basically showing their clients a guaranteed win before asking them to commit to anything long-term. It's just a genius way to eliminate risk and build that rock-solid confidence.
Okay, but a trust-first strategy like this, it just wouldn't work without an incredibly powerful engine running under the hood. And for 1010, that engine is their technology. It's what really, truly separates them from the pack.
And to really get who they are, you just have to listen to how they describe themselves. They say, "We are a high-volume data management technology company, which differentiates us from traditional BPOs." That is not a service provider talking. That's a tech company. And that little shift in language completely reframes their entire identity.
And their tech toolkit? It is seriously impressive. We're talking 100% automation, predictive algorithms, AI. A key piece is something called robotic process automation, or RPA. That's basically using smart software bots to handle all those repetitive digital tasks. And they've gotten so good at it, they've even turned it into its own service, making this super advanced tech available to their partners.
And here's the real secret sauce. Because they build and own all of their own technology, they are unbelievably fast and flexible. They're never stuck waiting on some third-party vendor to make a change. They can build custom solutions and scale them up at lightning speed. And that, right there, is a huge strategic advantage.
So when you have this proven model of trust in technology, what do you do next? Well, you start taking that playbook and you apply it to brand new industries.
While finance is still their bread and butter, they are making some really smart moves to diversify. They've pushed into retail and natural gas, which makes perfect sense because those sectors have their own financial side, right? Think store credit cards or financing for appliances. It's a totally natural fit for their expertise.
But their move into healthcare? Now that is especially fascinating. You see, the whole industry is trying to shift to more preventive care, but it's just bogged down by these operational nightmares. 1010 is bringing their tech-first, process-driven brain to solve problems like managing appointments and making sure patients get their follow-ups.
And the scale of the problem they're tackling is just enormous. Get this, 30% of all medical appointments are simply missed. Just poof, gone. That is a massive drain on the entire system. By optimizing how scheduling and communication works, 1010 is tackling a problem that impacts the efficiency of our entire healthcare system.
So what could possibly be next for a company that's already changing the game across multiple industries? Well, they've got a plan, and it has a pretty awesome name.
They're calling it Operation Phantom, and it's this incredibly ambitious strategy for the future. They're targeting major international growth, looking specifically at the huge U.S. Hispanic market and also key countries in South America. They are definitely not sitting still.
And this whole story kind of brings us to a final big picture question. Tencent has shown that when you pair technology with a trust-first strategy, you can completely shatter old barriers. So it really makes you wonder, as this model keeps proving itself, what other parts of business, the parts we thought were unoutsourceable, are going to be the next to be transformed?